1. City park or garden. Do young people like to go to parks? What do old people like to do in parks? What benefits can parks bring to a city? What are the benefits of going to the park for young people and old people? Why do some people like planting flowers? Would you say people should help maintain public parks and gardens? 2. Beautiful city. What are the differences between modern towns and modern cities? Why do some people like to visit historical sites? How can people preserve historic cities and historic buildings? Is it the government's responsibility to preserve historic cities and historic buildings? Does historic preservation contradict economic development? What do you think will happen to historic places or buildings in the future? Why? 3. Interesting place. How can people access travel information? Do people have different personalities in different regions of your country? What causes the differences between different regions of your country? Is it just youngsters who like to try new things, or do people of your parents' age also like to try new things? Is a great tourist destination also a good place to live? Why do people who go to live in small towns think these towns are more interesting than the big cities? 4. Be proud of. What are the things that make people feel proud? Do people often feel proud of themselves when they complete a difficult task? What challenges do young people face today? How do young people handle difficult or challenging tasks? What kinds of rewards do people receive from work? What are the most difficult jobs that people do? 5. Good life change. Do you like new things or changes in life? Why do some people quit and change jobs? How do you adapt to changes in life? Who can adapt better to changes, children or adults? When things like getting married or moving home happen, what kinds of things would you consider? What are the disadvantages when people keep making changes? 6. Computer strike. Why do people often have problems when using new products? How do people use digital devices to help them with their studies? Do people spend too much time looking at digital screens? Why? Do you think that parents should limit the time that their children spend using the mobile phones? What do people do with mobile phones? What do you think of people who are addicted to playing computers? 7. Activities that make. Does studying and learning make people tired today? When do people usually feel tired? What do you think about striving for learning and striving for sports? Do people have fewer holidays now than in the past? What are the differences between feeling tired after studying and after exercising? How can people solve the problem that old people easily get tired? 8. Waiting for good. On what occasions do people have to wait for a long time? What do people do while waiting? Are most people patient while waiting? Do you like to wait for a long time? Why? Why do most children have difficulties waiting for a long time? Do people queue consciously while waiting for the subway train? 9. Reunion. Why do people like parties? Why do some people not like going to parties? Do you think those who tend to stay at home are less healthy than those who often attend parties? Do you think music and dancing are a must at a party? What would you do if you were disturbed by a neighbor's party? What are the differences between holding a party at home and in a public place? 10. Bad service. How do most people respond to bad services? Do you think services are better now than in the past? What kind of services are bad services? Why do some people choose to remain silent when they receive bad services? Who should be responsible for bad services? What can employers do to improve the service that their employees provide? 11. Useful advertising. What do you think of online advertising? Are there any great online advertisements? What do people usually buy? Why does buying new things make people happy? Do people watch useless advertisements in this day and age? Do you think there is too much advertising in our daily lives? 12. At school or work. What rules should children follow at home in your country? On what occasions can children be forgiven if they don't follow some rules? What rules should people follow when using public transport? What kinds of rules do people need to follow in public places? What are the reasons that cause people to break rules? When people break rules, how would they be punished in your country? 13. Photos that make you. Do you think people are taking too many photos these days? What kinds of photos do people like to take? Do you think people take more photos now than in the past? Do you think equipment is important for photography? Do you think being a professional photographer is a good job? Why? Why do some people like to post their photos on social media? 14. Good suggestion. Do you think parents should give their children advice? Should teachers give students advice? Do you think it is necessary for us to listen to friends' advice? How do people give young people and old people advice? Who is more willing to listen to advice? And who is less willing? Have you ever received any advice from professional people, like a doctor, a lawyer, or a teacher? 15. A painting. What are the differences between painting and drawing? Why do some people keep a painting for a long time? How does building style affect people's lives? Should children learn to draw and paint? Why? How do young people share arts with others? Do you think the objects we use in our daily lives should be beautifully designed? 16. Scientific areas of. Why do some children not like learning science at school? Is it important to study science at school? Which science subject is the most important for children to learn? Should people continue to study science after graduating from school? How do you get to know about scientific news? Should scientists explain the research process to the public? 17. Admired athletes. Should students have physical education and do sports at school? What qualities should an athlete have? Is talent important in sports? Is it easy to identify children's talents? What is the most popular sport in your country? Why are there so few top athletes? 18. Successful. What factors lead to success? What do people need to sacrifice for success? Which is more likely to be successful, family businesses or large corporations? Is it easy for a business to be successful without affecting the environment? Can you provide some examples of family businesses in your country? What qualities should be considered when recruiting employees? 19. People with. When do you think children start to have their own opinions? Are children's opinions influenced by their parents? Who are smart children likely to be influenced by? How do inventors or philosophers come up with new ideas? Are there only old ideas from books or previous writers? What kind of people have lots of great ideas in your country? 20. Interesting people too. Are there any differences in the relationship between you and your friends and between you and other people? Do people feel lonely in crowded cities? Where and how can people get to know new people? Can clothing tell and reveal a person's personality? Why do individuals from the same family have different personalities? How does society influence a person's personality? 21. Good at speaking. What foreign languages do Korean children learn? 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 What foreign languages do Korean ch Why do Korean children learn English? Why are so many people learning English? How can you help children learn English? Do you think the way people learn English today is the same as in the past? What are the benefits of the Internet for people's learning? 22. People who like. What do we need to prepare when we need to cook? Do you agree that food is an important part of Korean festivals and ceremonies? Which dishes are a must at festivals? Do you think cooking should be a compulsory or an elective course? Why? Are there any differences between cooking today and in the past? 23. Fun joining. What kinds of activities do young people like to do? Why do some young people like adventurous activities? Do you think old people would like to have changes? Why can exciting activities relieve people's stress? Can you give some other examples of adventurous or risky activities? What skills do people need to take part in adventurous activities? 24. Study work together. Is money the only measure of success in your country? How do you define whether one is a successful person? What is the standard of success in your country? Is there a controversy between success and happiness? Is it easy to succeed in the national tests in your country? What are the factors that influence students' grades at school? 25. Historical period. 1. Should everyone know history? 2. In what ways can children learn history? 3. What are the differences between learning history from books and from videos? 4. Is it difficult to protect and preserve historic buildings? 5. Who should be responsible for protecting historic buildings? 6. Who should pay for the preservation of historic buildings? 26. Travel delayed. What are the main modes of transport in your country? What can the government do to improve transport in your country? Do you think that traveling was better in the past than it is now? Do you think that tourist attractions help people learn about new cultures? What difficulties do people often face when traveling? Do you think technology makes traveling more difficult? 27. Busy time. Are you often busy? What are the advantages and disadvantages when people keep busy? Do you think children should learn through playing games or under pressure? What kind of pressure people may experience at work? How does technology help with time management? Does technology distract people? 28. Useful skill. Where do children learn skills in your country? What are the differences between learning skills on your own and from others? What important skills should a child learn? What skills do you think teenagers should have? Who should teach teenagers skills? What are the differences between children learning skills and adults learning skills? 29. Something from a street market. What kinds of markets are there in Korea? Do you think small markets will disappear in the future? Have people's shopping habits changed in recent years? What are the differences between shopping in street markets and big shopping malls? Do you think the goods sold at discount stores do not have good values or qualities? Why do some people like to buy expensive goods? 30. Do something in a hurry. On what occasions do people have to do things in a hurry? Why do some people spend a long time on having a meal? Would people feel more satisfied if they finished doing something quickly? What kinds of jobs need to be done quickly? What are some examples of work that needs to be done quickly? What might make some people more productive than others in completing tasks? 31. Lost and found. What kind of people tend to lose things more often than others? What kind of things do people often lose? Why do some people find lost things easier than others? What do you think are the reasons why some people pick up lost things and don't give them back? Should parents teach their children to return things lost by others? Why do some people enjoy collecting antiques or second-hand items? 32. Someone complaining. How do companies train their staff to deal with complaints? What do people usually complain about? How do most people complain? In writing or by other methods? How do people often respond to poor customer service? How would you react if you received a poor service at a restaurant? Who are more likely to make complaints, older people or younger people? 33. Outdoor activity. Is having outdoor activities important to people? Do people go outdoors more or less now? What can people do outdoors besides exercising? When do people usually go outdoors to get close to nature? What can people do to get close to nature? Do people like doing outdoor activities in the wintertime? 34. Uniform. Why should students wear uniforms? Why should people at work wear uniforms? What are the advantages and disadvantages of wearing a uniform? Can people tell a person's personality by his or her clothes? On what occasion should people wear uniforms? Should companies ask for employees' opinions about the design of uniforms? 35. Map. What do people usually do when they get lost? What are the differences between paper and digital maps? What do you think of in-car GPS navigation systems? What do people often do with a map? Why do most people prefer to use a paper map? How does learning to read a map help you learn more about your country? 31. Lost and found. What kind of people tend to lose things more often than others? What kind of things do people often lose? Why do some people find lost things easier than others? What do you think are the reasons why some people pick up lost things and don't give them back? Should parents teach their children to return things lost by others? Why do some people enjoy collecting antiques or second-hand items? 32. Someone complaining. How do companies train their staff to deal with complaints? What do people usually complain about? How do most people complain? In writing or by other methods? How do people often respond to poor customer service? How would you react if you received a poor service at a restaurant? Who are more likely to make complaints, older people or younger people? 33. Outdoor activity. Is having outdoor activities important to people? Do people go outdoors more or less now? What can people do outdoors besides exercising? When do people usually go outdoors to get close to nature? What can people do to get close to nature? Do people like doing outdoor activities in the wintertime? 34. Uniform. Why should students wear uniforms? Why should people at work wear uniforms? What are the advantages and disadvantages of wearing a uniform? Can people tell a person's personality by his or her clothes? On what occasion should people wear uniforms? Should companies ask for employees' opinions about the design of uniforms? 35. Map. What do people usually do when they get lost? What are the differences between paper and digital maps? What do you think of in-car GPS navigation systems? What do people often do with a map? Why do most people prefer to use a paper map? How does learning to read a map help you learn more about your country? 36. Unusual holiday. Do you think people in your country have long enough holidays? Which holidays are popular in your country? Are there any popular places in your country? What are the differences between old and young people when spending their holidays? Do you think having holidays helps people learn other countries' culture? Why do some people dislike holidays? 37. Help someone. Should children be very kind when they help others? Should children be taught to be kind to others? Should parents help their kids with their homework? What kind of advice should parents give to their children? Should parents give children advice? Why? Can kids provide any help to parents? 38. Job in the future. What kind of jobs do Korean young people like to do? Do young Korean people prefer to choose an interesting job or a job with a high salary? Do you think it is easier to get a job now than in the past? Is it important to be successful in a job? Do you think AI will take over many jobs? Can AI improve people's lives? If so, how? 39. Interested in studying. Do you think everyone's routine is different? Which jobs need a morning routine? Is a daily routine important? How do people organize their routines after getting up in the morning and after work? Do you think children need to have a routine too? Do you think routine is important for companies? 40. Public facility renovated. What are the benefits of public facilities? Why are some public transport methods popular, such as the subway? Why are some public transport methods unpopular? What kind of transport do young people and old people prefer? Do you think people would feel happier when they are in a park or a coffee shop? Why? Is a public park necessary in every area? Why? 41. Interesting conversation. How do people have a conversation with an elderly person? What can young people learn from old people? Do you think old people can work better than young people? What are the advantages of having people of different ages living in the same house? Has old people's life quality improved when compared to the past? Do old people share the same interest with young people? 42. Person welcoming. Do people in your country often invite others to their homes? Why? What do you think of serving food to visitors? What kind of people do you think are more likely to invite others to their homes? Who is more likely to invite others to their homes? People in the countryside or people in the city? Are tourist attractions in the countryside more welcome than those in the cities? What facilities are there in the tourist attractions in your country? 43. Long-term goal. What goals should a society have? Do people need to have goals? What goals do people your age have? Is it necessary to give advice to children? What goals do young people usually have? What should people do to achieve their goals? 44. Useful object. What equipment do you find difficult to use? What can you do with a laptop? What are the benefits of using technology in the workplace? Why do some people in the workplace dislike technology? Why do people buy a lot of household appliances? What do people often do with electronic devices? 45. Great team member. What qualities should a leader have? What should people do without a good team leader? Does a team's best player make a good leader? Why do some people dislike teamwork? Do you think young people are good team players? What are the advantages of working as part of a team? 46. Primary school activity. What activities do children often do in your country? What do parents in your country let their children do? What are the differences between activities at home and at school? Why do some people like to participate in activities? What activities do people do in their free time? Does technology affect children's activities? If so, how? 47. Talk a lot. What communication skills does a talkative person have? Is it good to be talkative? How should parents encourage their children to talk more? How should people encourage children to express themselves when being asked questions that they are afraid to answer? On what occasion do you think a child should talk less than usual? What jobs need employees to be talkative? 48. Noise. What kinds of places should be noise-free? On what occasions do people need to be quiet? Can people bring children to these noise-free places? Why can't people make noise in places like libraries and museums? What public morals should people follow in your country? Do you think we should allow children to make noise in public places? 49. Place to relax. Do people have enough places to relax in your country? What do people usually do when they are relaxed? Is physical activity good for relaxation? Do you think that spending time in front of a screen helps people relax? Do people have to spend a lot of money to relax? Do people nowadays have more ways to relax than in the past? 50. Relatable movie. Do most people prefer to watch movies at home or in a cinema? Why? What are the advantages of going to the cinema with friends? Is going to the cinema still popular? What kind of movies do you think need to be seen in the cinema to be fully appreciated? What can cinemas do to attract more audiences? Do you think people can learn new cultures through movies?